Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I bring you the Bluetti EB3A, and this one here was the cheapest one available in Germany, although it didn't turn out to be so cheap because well, I got kind of scammed with this one because it was supposed to include a solar cell, and it didn't. It was marketed as being refurbished. I got it off one of those portals where you can just register for stuff when it gets cheap. They send you an email. I clicked on buy and they sent me to eBay, and well, a few days later this thing showed up, but no solar cells. So I complained to Bluetti, and they told me I didn't buy a solar cell. I just bought this one, and it wasn't refurbished either, it was new. And well, what happened, and they kind of got pretty annoying until I actually uploaded the bill that they sent me, which clearly stated that I was supposed to get a solar cell, upon which they told me, well, they would give me a little bit of money, and when I asked for how much money, they asked me to make a video detailing how this was broken. And basically, that's where we are now. But let's do a review first, because great review target. So let's go over what we have here first. We do have a very small device, quite light. It is rated at 268 watt hours. It's the smallest device from Bluetti. It has several outputs, starting with a 12 volt, rated at 10 amps. I wasn't quite able to get that, but close enough. It does have a light, which is, I think, around 1 to 3 watts. It has 220 volt out. We'll get to that. That is not so great. And we have USB-C and USB-A. USB-C is rated up to 100 watts. USB-A is 5 volts only, at up to 3 amps. We have a power input in form of a 3-prong plug. There's a fuse at the front here, and we have an input connector where you can connect a battery or a solar cell, and the device is able to do MPPT, so it will actually dial itself in to perform the best charging it can do. It also has a wireless charging area up here, which has a maximum output of 15 watts. Now, I have tons of materials regarding the testing of this device and looking into everything, but I'm going to give you the results of my tests regarding efficiency and some of the good things and bad things first. The most notable thing that I found out was that the 220 volts outlet is hideously inefficient. I had really bad efficiency. The device heated up, and it didn't turn the fans on, and it heated up to the point where it actually started pouring out white smoke. The white smoke is from the silicone that they used inside of the device. It stinks awfully. So this is really an outdoor device. You can't, when it's new, you shouldn't be using it indoors. It's just going to give you a terrible headache. On the other hand, the USB-C was absolutely super. It had a efficiency of about 90%, and charging and 12 volts and stuff like that is basically mediocre, with efficiencies between 80 and 90%. But the 220 watt outlet is pretty bad. Also, I was able to measure that when you have a power device like a drill or something on the 220 volt plug, don't put anything expensive or important on the USB charge plugs, because the noise from the electrical motor in power devices makes it back to the USB plugs. And I was measuring noise on the 5 volt supply that was going close to 20 volts, and that can definitely fry hardware, and I have at least one report where this actually happened. I did test the 50 watt charger up here, but there's actually nothing to report about it. It just works and it's reasonably good. The thing that I was kind of disappointed was that the 12 volt supply wasn't enough to run a diesel heater. Close, but not quite good enough, because that would have really been something cool, because yeah, you would have power and heating, and so you just have power. Now, the results of my testing are, well, pretty simple. When I got it, it was full, so I emptied it out. I charged it up using 220 volts, and it took 330 watt hours to charge the 268 watts. It was charging with about 260 to 300 watts. You can actually set that in the app, and that was really good. When it was full, I used the device to discharge the battery at 75 watts using a light bulb, which I measured at 75 watts, and I was able to get out 175 watt hours, and then it turned off. That was not good. That is really poor. I charged it back up again on the plug, and this time it used 320 watt hours. I was under the impression that it was charging a little bit faster, but well, it's using less. Maybe it was warmer, or maybe the cells are pretty well balanced, which means that the charger can really charge it up fast. So charging on this thing is pretty much excellent. My next test was to completely discharge the device using the USB-C plug, plugging in a laptop, which when loaded down 100% consumes about 60 watts, which is close to the 75 that I was using, and I got a whopping 214 watt hours out of this little device, and that was a surprise. I charged it back up again after it was done, and it was again taking 320 watt hours. While I was using it, and while I was trying to charge it up from solar, I noticed that it has a standby consumption of 8 to 11 watts. So if this thing is turned on, it's going to consume 8 to 11 watts. So these 8 to 11 watts go on top of each and every discharge here, which makes the USB-C even better, and well, the AC discharge isn't so great. When I was charging it through a solar panel, I actually got a solar panel especially for this thing, which is rated at 150 watts, because this thing is supposed to charge the battery through the MPPT charger at up to 160 watts, maybe more, but from what I've heard, 160 is pretty much what you can go for. And I have a 150 watt solar cell, and it was using it 100%, so also that was really cool. The app that comes with it is simple, But it only needs Bluetooth. It doesn't need any cloud connect. It doesn't need any Wi-Fi. You could just connect it with Bluetooth, and you don't even need to register to use it. I love that. Regarding the efficiency, while charging from 220 volts, I got an efficiency of 81%, and 85% if you consider the idle load as well. I got an efficiency discharging it through the AC output at 75 watts of 65%, and that is pretty much subpar. If we take in the losses with the with standby and idle current, it's 70%, but that's still pretty bad. On USB-C, I got a discharge efficiency of 79%. That is all right, but if we add its own consumption on top of that, we are 87% efficient. And wow, that is pretty good. We're getting somewhere here. You must remember, this is a dirt cheap device. On solar charging, I was actually getting, with the MPPT controller, 90% efficiency. If we count in the idle consumption, it's 92%. That is a really good MPPT charger. The 12 volt out basically petered out at somewhere around 8.5 amps, and I did not do a full discharge on 12 volts. I just couldn't get it to run. But I've tested almost everything else. I got the device directly from Bluetti. It was on sale through a site called Idealo in Germany, which is like an aggregate shop where people actually pay to place their ads. And yeah, it was sold directly from Bluetti Germany. It was marked refurbished, and like they said, it was the offer Bluetti plus the solar panel. But like I said, this thing here isn't refurbished. It was all new, but I didn't get the solar stuff, and they were pretty mean. It also came with a charging lead for connecting it to a solar panel. This charging lead is non-functional. There's a cable broken, I don't know where, and it came with a power plug. So basically this is it. I'm now going to add the original video that I was going to make about this. I have about, I don't know, like 2 hours of film material on this thing, and I thought it would be a lot better if I just give you the facts first, and whoever wants to stay for the rest can just stay, because this was super complicated, and testing this thing out took me forever, and the discussion with Bluetti was even worse than that. So from now on, I'm going to go over to the original video that I made. I'm going to cut it down a little bit, and you can just have fun watching me getting mad at this thing. But it's pretty interesting because it's going to start smoking. We're going to have a look inside and see what gets hot. And yeah, enjoy. So, hello and welcome back. This is a really quick impromptu video because I got this Bluetti 3 something, and I think it's gonna die before I really get into anything. But I just want to show this off because it's so cool. I got this thing yesterday, and I was scammed. I was actually scanned by Bluetti Germany. They advertised this as being sold as a kit, solar receptor, solar power unit, and the power box, and yeah, the solar didn't even show up. So I don't think I'm going to get anything back from them. But I hooked this thing up. I didn't charge it. I started discharging it because I wanted to do a performance measurement. And right now it's discharging on a 75 watt bulb. I'll just bring this in here. Yeah, that is just, sorry about that. It's just discharging. It started at 65 watts. And right now it's at, let's have a look, at 25. So it's gotten rid of about 40% of battery. And it's too bad that this isn't smell-o-vision. This thing smells like a 60s, 70s phone that stood in the sun for too long. It's been heating up. If we go over this with the heat camera, we can see that it actually has two hot spots where it's over 30 degrees at the top. The rest is pretty cold, but this room that we're in right now is only at about 15°C. So this thing is really hot, and something appears to be getting even hotter inside. And at 75 watts, this thing should be strolling along, but it's not. So I'm not sure that this thing is going to survive the discharge to zero. But let's see. I got this thing because a friend of mine told me he had the same thing, and he was using an electrical tool on the power outlet while one of his kids was charging, I think it was an iPad or something, or some sort of tablet PC. And he said he was using his tool, I think it was a drill or something, and he switched it on, switched it off, switched it on, switched it off, and the iPad was dead. And he said he did some measuring, and he thought that the power supply was fluctuating wildly while he was putting differential load on the plug, and I wanted to test that out. And I've not done anything with this so far. I was just getting it ready because the last unit that I had that was kind of taken back by the manufacturer had a very similar problem, that when you put a very, very, well, powerful, not clean load on the 220 volts, it would wreak havoc with the rest of the machine, just because the power base from the batteries was so weak. So, like I said, this thing, it stinks so bad. I'm really happy that I'm doing this in my basement. I don't know what's up with this. But it's doing the 75 watts. It's been doing it for quite some time. But this is supposed to be able to do 600 watts. Granted, not for very long, because the battery is only 265 watt hours. But it should be able to take the load, and it should be able to take it over a longer time because it's actually got a fan inside. So I'm going to let this run, and I'll report back on what's happening with it, because right now it doesn't look good. Okay, let's see. It stinks so bad. Well, get this, the back end of here, when you get it correctly, it's almost 40 degrees Celsius somewhere in the back of here. So it's 36. It's extremely hot. And the fan is not turning on. So this is This is not good. But it's only at the top. It's 36, 37, and it's like this room only has about 16. So, wow. This thing's gonna be interesting. Well, this didn't take long. Man, I was getting a flashlight because I thought it was hard to see, but we got smoke. Right. Oh, shit. So, this is crazy. It's still going. 17%. God, it's smoking a lot now. But it doesn't smell like battery. It smells like something plastic. I don't know. It smells like... I don't... Maybe some insulation or some heat sink? Yeah, I thought this would be interesting. I didn't realize how much so. So, I don't... Let's see if it got hotter. Well, we're still in the, oh, you can't see that. It's not too bad. 30 on the case. I don't know, it's like, still 30. If I turn it around, it's still smoking. Yeah, 37-ish. 38. Yeah, so it's notably warm in the back of here. I thought this would be entertaining, but I had no idea. Cool. I don't know, maybe I'm going to turn it off and wait till it cools down and see if it does it again. Maybe I'll put it outside. But like I said, it's not smelling like this. It's not smelling like LiPo, and it doesn't have LiPo batteries. It's got LiFePO 4. So I guess I'll just let it run. Seems to have calmed down a little. Now it's still smoking. Yeah, let's wait where this goes. All right. So it just died. I think it switched off because the battery's empty. But before it switched off, it was still at 18% or so. That's not good. So I'm going to charge this up, and I'm going to make sure that I record how many kilowatt hours I get to put in there, and then we can do the whole thing the other way and discharge it and see how efficient or how inefficient this box is at different loads. So it still seems to work a little bit. Yeah, but it's so down on power it won't even turn the output on. But that's okay. That was expected. The smoke wasn't, but the rest is. And it still stinks. Boy, that's bad. So let's charge it up. Okay, I hooked it up to 220 volts. It says it's charging at 264 right now. Apparently the peak charging rate is 350 volts, 350 watts. It claims that it will be done. Oh, come on. It claims that it will be done charging in 0.9 hours. That would make sense. Because if it's charging at 265 watts, that's basically its rated charging. Well, it's rating in watts for 1 hour. So at 265 watts, it would take 1 hour to charge with no overhead. So we're gonna watch that. Whew. All right. I put this thing away from the desk where all my good stuff is, because when I set it to charge, it was charging for like I don't know, a minute or two, and then it started making a really unnerving sound, and then it turned the fan on full power. So I think by now it's figured out that somewhere inside it must be really hot. The odd thing is, we just saw smoke coming out of that side. Well, that can only be when the fan is not running, because the fan is actually taking in the air from here and sending it out down here. So air here, in here, air out there. So it didn't turn on the fan because it didn't know it was hot. Also, it says it's charging at 264 watts right now. Well, my power meter is saying that it is consuming about 15 to 20 watts more than it's actually displaying right here. So there seems to be quite a lot of energy loss in the charging system, which I find strange, because these chargers, they should be around at least 85 to 90% power efficient, and it wouldn't make sense for one like this to just be around the 70 to 75% range. That would be really bad. But no matter, we're just gonna let this thing charge. I'm actually right now, and it's still smelling. It reeks. Something is incredibly hot in there, and it's just awful. I mean, I wouldn't put this anywhere in a living space. I would charge this in the garage only, but I wouldn't put it into, I don't know, living room, kitchen, not with the children. This thing smells really, really unhealthy. It's quite possible that something's wrong with it, but I don't know. Now, I'm going to let this thing continue. I'm going to monitor the power consumption. I'm going to monitor what goes in, and let's wait for it to finish, and then take the difference between what went through this power cable and what really got into the battery. the way this thing is acting right now, this could just be a light show. I mean, this could all be fake. I am not 100% sure that what we're seeing right here is really what's happening, because it doesn't really make any sense, because it should be charging a lot faster and it's not. Well, it could be hot, so then it wouldn't be charging so fast. It could also be out of balance, then it would also not be charging too fast. Well, I mean, this thing is brand spanking new. I doubt that this has taken more than 2 or 3 charges. I mean, yeah, it's refurbished, it was cheap. They kept the solar panels that were supposed to come with it, but it can't be all scam, can it? So we're gonna watch it. I was trying to do something completely different with this thing, but now I'm just gonna watch it charge a battery. Okay, so I charged it up to 100% and I let it cool down, and I'm going to do the opposite test of unloading 100% of the battery into a 75 watt light bulb again, and I'm going to measure how much watt hours we actually get out of it. For the record, the charging was not good. To charge up the 268 watt hours, it consumed 330 watt hours, which makes it about 76 to 78% efficient charging up. That is a little bit subpar, and let's see how much we actually get out of it. So how much power arrives at the lamp, and then we can judge what the overall efficiency of this thing is with the power going through the 220 watt inverter. Okay, so I'm going to set this up. This is going to be slightly more complicated because when this turns off, this power meter turns off, which is slightly annoying, so I am going to have to watch this thing. I'm going to have to watch it anyway because I'm pretty sure it's going to start smoking again because it's got really bad temperature management inside. It did stink for quite some time yesterday, but in the end it kind of cleared up. And right now, if you put your nose to it, it still reeks awfully, but it's not as bad as it was. I didn't take it apart yet. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of I don't know, taper or some piece of plastic in there that was just somewhere where it got really hot and it just burned it off. At least that's what I'm hoping. To make sure that this doesn't really happen again and that nothing else happens, I do have a flame extinguisher, a fire extinguisher right here, and we'll just, I hope we don't need it. So I turned it on. We are getting a solid 228 volts out of the AC with 50 hertz, and we are seeing 75 watts at the bulb. The device itself is telling us it's supposed to be 76 watts, but that's okay. And it estimates that it's going to run for about 3.2 hours. So I'm gonna let this thing run until its battery is spent, and then we're going to have a look at the power meter and actually see how many kilowatt hours or how many watt hours went past this thing. So we're down to 54%? Was it? No, 53% now. It's doing its best, but I don't know if you can see this on here. It's already starting to put out a small whiff of smoke, and this time it actually smells like burning PCB. So I wonder if there's some new resistors in there that are getting really hot, and when we had the white smoke, it was actually burning off some lacquer that was on there. Right now, like I said, it's really hard to see. There's just a whiff of white smoke coming out of there, but still, it stinks. This thing is, I would say it's not safe to use, but apparently they're selling them, and a lot of them. Okay, still discharging, and we're at 20% now, and it still smells, and if you look really closely, it's very hard to see, but it's still smoking. It's pretty faint, but maybe we can get some air in there from here. It's just a few whiffs of smoke coming out of here. It's a smoker. The time scale doesn't seem to be too accurate, but I don't know. I'm basically waiting for it to get to like 1% so I can turn it off and read off what the meter says. I checked at 37%, and at 37% we had 130 watt hours, which seems, well, that number is kind of low, but let's wait till the end and see what we get out of it. How many 220 volt watts came out of the 268 that the machine is able to supply. Yeah, we're getting there. There we go, now we can see it. Now we can't. It's just this really fine haze that's coming out of there. It's like, I don't know. This is not going according to plan. So at about 11%, I went outside to take care of something else, and it just switched itself off. It's also really, really warm right now. Not awfully warm. It's like, I don't know, maybe 30 degrees or something. It stinks badly. I recorded the settings from the watt meter about 2 or 3 minutes before it went dead, and it had an incredible 175 watts. So this is incredible. So this thing is rated at 268 watt hours. It was able to output 175 watts on the 220 volt side. It ran for pretty much exactly 2 hours and 20 minutes, which tells us that it was using 75 watts, which is exactly what the bulb is and exactly what we were seeing. So we used 330 watt hours to charge this thing up, and we got 175 watt hours out of it. And that is somewhere around 50%. So I don't know. These things are, I mean, this thing is awful. It stinks. It smokes when it gets hot. All the time it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter. It never turned the fan on once. And that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know. But this thing is refurbished. It's supposed to have been checked once over. So it's not like this is just a dud. Somebody checked this thing and was convinced that it was okay before sending it out to me. So I don't know. I'm still really mad at Bluetti for scamming me out of the solar panel that was supposed to come with this thing. But this thing is I don't know, this thing is broken by design. And I read the manual, even all these numbers that are on here for maximum power and everything, they're different in the manual. Nothing makes sense with this thing. Also, this display thing, when charging and when discharging, I mean, it turned off like at 9% or something. That shouldn't happen. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all. The things that it was displaying while it was charging did not, they weren't in line with what I was seeing on the consumption side. This thing was pulling up to 400 watts while it was claiming to just charge with 265 or 268. I think whatever we're seeing on here is just a light show. It's just, it's not real. And I'm gonna have to take a look if I can find some disassembly instructions, because I want to look inside of this thing. I want to see if this thing is a scam, or if it's just broken, or if it's broken by design and that's just it. But this thing, that is just incredible. I've never seen something that was so bad. Not even some of the super exaggerated Chinese USB power banks were so bad. Most of them worked and they were reliable in their own right, but this thing is just, yeah, it's just something else. I don't know. I mean, it was really cheap. I must give it that, but yeah, that can't be it. So I'm going to continue to dig into this. This might become a long video. Sorry about that. What a piece of crap. So the next test that I'm doing right now is I have my notebook connected here, and I'm going to drain the battery running the notebook on full load, which is around 60 watts. So we're in the same ballpark as the light bulb was, which is 75, but that's close enough. It's underreporting here. It says it is pulling 52 watts from the battery, while the tester quite clearly says we're right around the 56 watts mark. I was actually planning on doing the same thing with the battery absolutely empty, but I kind of bodged the first try, so the battery is charged now, so it's not pulling the entire 65 watts that it's able to pull. But right around 50 watts is what we're trying to do. And what we can see is that we have power delivery, so this notebook wants 20 volts, so we're getting 19.85. We're pulling 2.7 something amps, and up to now I've pulled 15 watt hours from the battery pack, and I'm just going to let this run and we're going to see where it dies, and we're going to see what the efficiency of the power delivery circuit is. This is going to take a while, so I'm just going to let it run, and I'll just report back when it's done. And I'm going to tell you if it starts smoking again. I've read up on the smoking part. It appears that the boards in this thing are conformal coated, so they're basically watertight or very much waterproofed, and we're just going to see if it was that caused this white smoke and stink. I hope so. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. Okay, so we are almost at the end of the battery. I just had to reset this, but I wrote everything down. The 19 volts from the power supply are starting to fluctuate, so we're within about 0.1 volt. It was absolutely perfect when we started this test, and it's a bit all over the place right now, but still okay. So this is okay. But when I did the test where I got it down to 0 with the 75 watt light bulb, it actually turned off at 8% and it shut off completely. So right now it seems to be able to use the entire battery, which means it probably has some sort of smart battery that has a notion about how much charge is in the battery, and with that it can predict exactly how long it's going to last. And it seems like at the first few times that I was charging and discharging it, this battery charge monitor on the battery was not calibrated correctly. So at, I don't know, it was like around 8%, it just bam, switched off, and it wouldn't turn on until I recharged it. And after it's been recharged, it now knows exactly the capacity of the battery inside. So it could be that this thing's been in storage for a while, or something similar has been going on. The only thing that I wanted to point out now, first of all, we are getting a slightly, well, not as goodish voltage from the USB-C here, but it's still fine, good enough for all these peripherals. I don't know what it would be like if we were actually pulling 100 watts. But the other thing that I wanted to point out is that right now, seemingly, we're able to go down to 0%, and that will be the end of the battery life. But that could also mean that the battery, the smart battery, has now deducted some of the 268 watt hours that we put inside. If I'm correct, we're right around 200 something watt hours now that we pulled through USB-C. And I don't know if we're at 85% efficiency, that would be okay. That would actually be somewhere where we can really live with. I'm going to let this run till it powers off. Then I'm going to stop the clock. I'm going to see what the last values for the consumption are, and then we can see what the efficiency of this thing is. For one thing, the efficiency of the USB-C appears to be a lot better than the power plug. A lot. So, for those of you who haven't seen yet or didn't know yet, the Bluetti EB3A comes with an app, of course, but it's just a Bluetooth app. So you have a Bluetooth connection to the device, and the device shows you exactly what the charge is and what the consumption is. Quite interestingly, it can mix. So it can mix energy coming from photovoltaics to the output, and from the grid to the output, and so on and so forth. And it just turned off. So I'm going to stop the timer. I'm going to record the last value. Well, I did. That was okay, 8. I'm going to have to write this down. And it's now off. So we just saw it, but it went down to 0%, which means that the smart battery in the bottom of this thing has somehow calibrated itself, and it knows exactly when it has to stop. So the last time that I discharged, it didn't do that. Now it did, and I think we're up to 4 discharges now. Good. Let's write all of this down and do the math. Okay, and finally, the question: is this thing capable of destroying a kid's iPad? Let's find out. To test this, I have a electric drill connected to this, and it's a really cheapy one. I've got my scope. It's set for 5 volts per division. And we'll just move that all the way down here. So we have it 5 volts per division all the way down here. Then we're going to turn it on, enable 5 volts. Now we have perfectly 5 volts. And now we're going to enable the output for the 220 volts. And well, we can see a little bit of jitter on there, and now we're going to set it to single shot. Okay, and we're just going to fire this thing and see if turning the drill on and off makes something weird happen on the 5-volt power, because that is what he told me. He was using an electric drill while his kid was charging the iPad, and the iPad died. So let's see what happens. Sorry about that, should have warned you. And we do have something. So for an instance, let's actually take a look at this. We do get a substantial spike on here. Let's get this focused. So what do we see here? We have one spike. I've got the trigger level set at 12 volts. And let's see how high we were. Okay, that was 13.6 volts. And we have 200 nanoseconds per division. Well, that could have done it. Oh, let's put the trigger a little bit lower again and try again. And I'm warning you, we're going to single shot, and again. Yep, there it is. So, well, this isn't like a 50 or 100 volts, but this is substantially more than what's supposed to be there. And if that goes into an electric device that is a 5-volt or 3-volt device, it's not going to be too happy about it. So the answer is maybe. Maybe this could actually kill something. That's interesting. So what we could try and do is we can set channel 1 to AC coupled and have it running. Turn this off and see if we can get a lot of noise while this is running. It's actually not too bad. Let's see if we can make this. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work. So we are getting stuff here. I apologize about the noise. So, well, ramping up, this thing does seem to put some sort of problem into the machine. I'm going to try it once again. Oh yeah, if it's ramping up, you can actually see a lot of noise in there. It's quite. Let's get you zoomed in. So yeah, this is not optimal, and still there does seem to be some form of noise on the 5 volts when the 220 volts is active. If I turn it off, then it's gone. If I turn it back on, there it is. I'm pretty sure this is some sort of 50 hertz thing, that when it goes from one half of the sine wave to the other, that there's some sort of spike in there, and that appears to be exactly the spike that we've seen before. And if I ramp up again, yeah, we're getting something, but it's kind of weirdish. Well, yeah, but that's not good if this thing has spikes of over 12 volt in the 5 volt supply. That's not great. Well, that clears that up. So, last but not least, let's have a look at the solar performance. I have a solar panel set up here, which is in basically balcony configuration, or flat against the wall of a house, which is quite common here in Germany. And this is a 150 watt panel, and at peak I'm getting like about, I don't know, maybe 100 to 110 watts. So you can expect to get around 60 to 70% of your advertised power when you just put it flat against the wall facing south. So let's have a look at this. So I do have a little heater fan attached to this, just pulling 100 watts, and it's actually doing really well. Oh, I'm surprised. At some point I figured out that you need to deduct 10 watts. So this thing always consumes 10 watts. So if you have like 10 watts coming in, it's not going to charge the battery. I don't know if you can see the display, but if not, I'll put something in here. So right now it's running really well. It started smoking again, but the fan has turned on and that has improved. It still stinks, but it's actually quite nice. I'm positively surprised by the performance that I'm getting here. And you can't really see anything, right? Can't you? No. Okay, last but not least, I think we should have a look inside. Maybe we can figure out why this thing has been stinking so much and where that white smoke was coming from. I've already removed the 4 feet. There are 4 screws in there. It's quite deep, but it shouldn't be any problem. I expect this thing is going to lift up, and it does. And we have the wireless charger module up here. Everything is glued down with some silicone goop. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. This thing is still powered. See if we can take this plug off. Yeah, it just comes off with the silicone. So no wireless charging. We're not going to need that now. So let's have a look in here. Let's have some non-conducting pointy stick. So if we look down here, I know this is kind of hard. We can see the battery module down there. I think these are probably 36 by 700 cells, something like that. The lithium ferrophosphate batteries it's pretty normal. Looking at the parts on the back of this board here, it seems that the backboard here has a balance charger, and maybe this microcontroller is even a smart battery controller. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. So what do we have here? There's a battery connection coming from down here, going up here. There's another battery connection going from this board up to the front board, so probably all of the electronics for the USB charging are on the front board. There are the connectors for 220 volt, and that all looks pretty good. We have what we've got here. I think we have a two-part power supply. So this in the front of here would probably be a boost converter, taking the, I don't know, 30 something volt from the batteries. I didn't measure it yet. Taking that voltage from the battery and boosting it up to a higher voltage, and then that higher voltage is converted to AC. What we are not seeing, so where might that be coming from? I don't see the charge wires, the 220 volt in, ending up anywhere. They're connected to the front panel, and okay, this here is the grid input. So we have grid coming in here. So we have a noise canceling, and would this be the power supply? That's kind of hard to say. Maybe this here is the power supply for charging the battery. So probably this part here makes grid in to battery charging, and this here is the step up converter. I don't know, it's all pretty well thought out. I also don't see anything that looks hot. I can see that the white goop down there is slightly discolored, but you know, let's just power it on and have it drive the light bulb, and let's see where it gets hot. Here we go. So the light bulb is powered, and it would be interesting to see if we see any hot spots on there. It'll probably take a while for this thing to heat up. And we do have a hot spot here in the back corner. Oh yeah, that thing is getting toasty pretty quickly, whatever it is. We have another hot spot up in the front here, which appears to be coming from the battery. Interesting. I don't know what this daughter board is, but yeah, it's getting hot, all right. And the rest seems kind of relaxed. So we have this heatsink is getting hot, but not incredibly so. And the transformer here, what I thought was the step-up transformer, appears to be getting hot too. But 38 degrees, yeah, that's okay. I was always wondering why the fan never turned on. So we have over 50 degrees here in this corner. But I don't. This is probably hard to see, but right here in the edge, we have something that is getting extremely hot, and it looks discolored. So I think it has been burning off the conformal coating. So right now it's at 56 degrees. But it never turned on. It never turned on the fan at all. So the heatsink appears to be 40 degrees. Parts in the back here are also 40 degrees. That is all fine, but that edge of the little door board, that's just rocking it. Yeah, I wonder what that is. It's not really saying it. Oh, it's connected to the battery. I'm gonna have to try and find out what that board is. There's some Chinese markings on it, but my Chinese is bad. So yeah, I'm not gonna let this run until it starts smoking again, but I suppose whatever this here in the edge is, that's where it's producing a lot of heat. Well, now we know. Okay, let's get this wrapped up. Unfortunately, I don't know what this part here does, but it's getting extremely hot, and there's a lot of discoloration on the silicone that they gooped on here, and there's even some goop on the voltage regulators or diodes here. I don't think they require a lot of cooling, but these things surely get hot. And you can actually see that this is where some stuff boiled off. So probably if you run this long enough, it is going to stop stinking and stop producing smoke. Maybe I'll put it out for a while and just leave it running. Yeah. It's kind of a cool little unit.